Greetings, audacious explorers on the trail of wisdom, and welcome to another life-changing episode of Break Through the Better. I'm Busy Babe, your unwavering companion on this expedition of personal evolution and self-discovery. Today, we're going to grapple with an intriguing concept, moving on versus moving forward. And in the grand adventure of life, we often encounter crossroads where we must choose between moving on and moving forward. But what's the difference between the two? Well, they may sound synonymous, but they hold unique and profound implications for our growth. And in this episode, we'll dissect these terms, understand their distinct impacts on our personal journeys, and learn how to utilize them to fuel our progress. So, brave explorers of enlightenment, are you ready to delve into this thought-provoking topic, comprehend the nuances of emotional transition, and discover how to optimize your path to self-improvement? Let's embark on this enlightening exploration together right here on Break Through the Better. P.S. We're doing a giveaway raffle every week for those that leave reviews and comments below. This week's giveaway is brought to you by Layered Jewelry, affordable, stylish, quality pieces that let you express a unique style. This week's winner is getting a piece of their choice. Awesome. So let's get into it, guys. I know a lot of people are thinking, what the heck is the difference between moving on and moving forward? Well, there is a very big difference here. When you move on from something, let's start there. When you move on from something, it's as if it didn't even happen. Or it's as if you are going to forget it and not really think about it anymore. And some people might think, well, why would I think about something that I want to move on from? Why would I want to relive an experience I want to move on from? And to that I say, there is something in every experience, no matter how horrific, that we can learn. It's very similar to the phrase, those who refuse to learn from their past are doomed to repeat their history. And what we can learn from many, many civilizations that have risen and fallen is that there has to be a lesson learned when you move forward. There has to be some sort of takeaway, some sort of realization, some sort of ongoing precaution to move forward in life. Otherwise, what would stop us from repeating that very thing that caused us so much pain or misery or just straight up struggle, right? Like, there has to be something to prevent us from repeating our history. And moving on from something is more of a, I'm going to forget this ever happened, and we're just going to move on. Kind of like when you stumble and fall in front of a group of people, and you kind of turn to the first person you see that actually saw it happen, and maybe no one else did, and you're just like, that never happened, and we're just going to move on. And then you kind of just walk away as if you never fell, right? But had that been a fall due to maybe not watching out that there was a slippery when wet sign on the floor, and you actually were running on a wet surface and you slipped and fell, the lesson that you can take away from that is read signs. Read signs, and maybe don't run over slippery surfaces, right? There's something to learn or something going forward that you can take from that experience. And when you compare that to moving forward is something where you're moving forward with the knowledge, with the lesson, with the intent to do better next time. And when you're moving forward, there is room for growth. There's room for taking those lessons into the next situation. And moving on versus moving forward doesn't necessarily have to be from something life-changing, life-altering, or something tragic. It could just be from, job to job. It could be from relationship to relationship. It could be from just an attempt to do something that you've always wanted to do. Or maybe it's just a long-term path in life that we're taking to get to the end goal, and we're trying different things to see if that will work. It's very similar to, doing something and then looking back on it, seeing what we can, tweak and then move forward, right? It's like if you were an athlete or, um, someone who is performance driven, you would look back at your previous performances and you would kind of dissect it and say, okay, what can we do better here? What did we do well? What can we improve next time to make it even better? And those are the markers of a great performer slash athlete slash whatever you want to call it. Successful people in those realms are very good at looking back on their past performances and making them better. But the only way you do that is by dissecting it with the intention of getting better. Not dissecting it from a place of like, I'm going to pick apart every single thing I did and say, oh, I messed up there. Oh, I messed up there. Oh, I messed up there. I'm so bad. Like coming from a place of a critical, place. It's more coming from a how can I improve? How can I grow? How can I get better? And, truthfully, that's where most people will falter because they're looking at it from a place of really, really criticalness and just self-loathing. And that's what deters them from actually taking a look at what they did and improving it. Because they're so afraid to look at it and see what they did wrong, they won't look at it at all. And that can happen a lot in life where, we come out of relationships, right? Even just that. And we can definitely just come out of relationships and be like, hey, like, that was a horrible experience. Let me just never think about that again and move on to another relationship and repeat the same patterns over and over again because we're so afraid to look back on that relationship and think, well, what could I have done better? Right? Because there are two sides to every relationship. And whether you want to place it all on one person or place it on two people, it takes two to tango. So what could I have done better, right? What could I do next time going forward? What things could I have brought up sooner? Or how could I have been more proactive, right? And it's not to say that you're going to take 100% of the blame in every single relationship or every single situation, right? It's just that you need to know how you can get better. And by you getting better, you're helping other people too as well, because they're going to benefit from you getting better. And we all want to get better, or at least I hope we do, right? So we need to take that time to look back on what didn't work, what did work, because we want to do more of what worked, right? And just move forward with that knowledge. We don't need to move on and forget it ever happened. I feel like it's almost a slap in the face to the very thing itself if we move on from something and forget it ever happened. It's like life handing you a gift and being here's the situation so you can get better and you can learn. And then we say, no thanks, I don't really feel like it. And just walking away and being like, I don't need that, I'm good. And then we just repeat the same situations over and over and over and over until at some point, or maybe not at all, but hopefully at some point we learn, oh, wait a second, this keeps happening. Maybe I should take a look at what is happening in my own space and realize that I keep making the same mistakes, or I keep not doing something, or I need to change something in order for this situation to change. And we can't do that if we never absorb what actually happened and review the game footage or what have you of what actually went down. And it helps you become a much more self-aware person in addition to all the lessons that you're going to learn from what you had done in the past. It's going to help you to be more self-aware. And there are lots of things in life where you need to be more self-aware. It will help you to move forward in life, in your future, in your growth, in your health, in your wellness, in your mental health, in your job, in your relationships. Just being self-aware, it's the cornerstone of growth in every aspect of your life. And a lot of people do not want to be self-aware because they're afraid of what they'll find when they look inside. And it's kind of like going through a dark and scary tunnel, but on the other side of that dark and scary tunnel is an oasis. It's like your personal heaven on earth, where everything is going to come a lot easier once you understand why you do what you do. And once you pinpoint the things that you do, and then stop doing those things if they're harmful to your growth or to other people, right? And we need to be brave enough to go through that dark tunnel to get to that other side, because it's worth it in the end to be a little scared up front, to go through some uncomfortable feelings, to maybe look at the parts of us that we're not so keen on looking at or noticing that they're actually there, because we like to go through life thinking that we're good people, that there's nothing wrong with us, that we have no flaws. Because to have flaws and to have something wrong with you or to make mistakes means that maybe we're not as valuable or as great as we think we are. And that messes with our heads. But I would say that in going through those things, in realizing that we have mistakes or imperfections or things that we tend to do that maybe we shouldn't do, that makes us into more valuable people, because we're able to change that. We're able to grow into better versions of ourselves. And so just because you find something that maybe you don't like doesn't mean it has to stay that way. Just because right now you might be struggling with a certain habit, a bad habit, or maybe a bad thinking pattern, or maybe just lower standards, or maybe you have poor self-esteem, or whatever it is that causes you to do the things that aren't so great for you. Just because you have that doesn't mean that that's how it's going to be for the rest of your life. And we need to remember that things are not forever. And that's a good thing in this case, because we don't have to stay this way forever, but only if we look inside. Only if we're able to get a little bit uncomfortable up front and work on those things. And then we can get better. And then we're more valuable. And then things come a lot easier because we're able to pivot and change. But if we keep the same and we keep doing the same things over and over and over again, life is a lot more difficult to handle, because you will be so frustrated. You won't even know why you're doing the things you're doing. You won't even know you're doing the things you're doing. And you'll wonder why you become so frustrated. You'll wonder why you're so angry at the outcomes. You'll wonder why you're stuck. And that's the most aggravating feeling in the world, is feeling stuck. Progression is needed in order for us to feel like we are living, like life is worth living. Progression needs to be there. And unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever way you want to look at it, the only way we get to progression is by looking back first. We have to look back and see what we did in the past, see what worked, see what didn't work, and then adjust and move forward with that knowledge. Which is why it's such a big deal to move forward and not just move on. Like the people who have very short-term memories, and we'll talk about this in a different podcast about forgiveness, but there's that phrase like, oh, I forgive, but I don't forget, right? Um, and in that case, sure, like forgetting is important to fully forgive someone, but there are events in your life where you're going to have to not forget because that's the reason why you changed what you changed. For example, for myself, I realized that I did a lot of emotional eating. And if I forgot that lesson, I would just go right back to emotional eating. But I move forward now. Whenever I have the chance to eat something, whenever I am in an emotionally unstable place, I know my triggers. I know why I do what I do. And so I'm able to overcome that urge to want to eat my feelings away because I am more knowledgeable in why I do what I do. But the only way that I got to that place is through looking back on my history and realizing that every single time I was stressed out, or I had a bout of depression, or I was just feeling really anxious, I would just eat whatever the heck I wanted whenever I wanted because that made me feel good in the moment. And life is just going to be a series of you going through moments to moments and realizing things and having these realizations, and you having to pivot and adjust. There's never going to be a moment in your life where you're not going to have something to learn, where you're going to stop growing. There's always going to be new lessons. There's always going to be ways to improve. There's always going to be ways that you can be more valuable to the people around you. Whether that's becoming a stronger person and being a source of support and foundation for someone else, or whether that's being a more knowledgeable person. And when someone needs to go to someone who's been through that situation before, they can go to you. And so don't just sit in that discomfort and think that this is how it has to be, or this is where it all ends up being. You have the power to look back on where you've been and what you've done and to improve. And I think that that's the best part about this lesson is that we have that power. We are the people who are in charge of how moving forward is going to go. Because whether you move on or move forward, life and time is moving forward. It doesn't stop for you. So if you're going to be moving through time anyway, you might as well get better. I don't really know of most people who would opt for getting worse. I'm sure they're out there somewhere, but I don't want to be surrounded by people who don't want to get better. I want to be surrounded by people who want to get better because that's what I want to do, right? And maybe that's another discussion for another time of surrounding yourself with people who have the same goals as you, and that will help you move faster. But in this particular instance, you need to take the reins of your own life and you need to make the decision that I'm going to learn from my mistakes. I'm going to learn from the things that come my way. I'm going to move forward with that knowledge, with that lesson, with that, aptitude to pivot. And once we can get better, we can also help other people get better. It's like how I always say, when you get better, the world gets better. It's not an automatic, like, suddenly I learn how to eat better and suddenly everybody in the world knows how to eat better. That's not what I mean when I say that. What I mean is that once you learn something, you're then able to go back and teach it to other people who have been in that situation. And the only way you're able to teach it is because you've been through it. And so people think that the reason why they're not qualified to teach something is the very reason why they're qualified to teach it, because they went through it. most people won't understand the thing that you're going through if they've never gone through it, right? Like whether it's, dealing with addiction, right? Or whether it's an illness or a pregnancy or a relationship or, um, losing weight, like whatever it is that you're going through right now, on the other side of that, there is a place where you can be able to help other people get through that same thing. And that should make you want to get better because you're able to help more people. First, help yourself, right? Like they say on the airplane, put your oxygen mask on first and then, help the person next to you. So first get better for yourself, but then get better for other people because those people need to see you get better. Not even from a place of they want to pick your brain of how you did it, but they need to see examples of other people getting better because that means it's possible. And if people can see that it's possible, they'll have hope. And if you have hope, even if it's just a sliver of hope, that inspires someone to change. Because no one's going to want to change if they don't think it's even possible. You wouldn't try to, walk across the air if you knew that walking on air is impossible, right? You wouldn't even attempt it. At least I hope you wouldn't. That would be bad. But you only attempt the things, or you only really put effort into the things that you know are possible. And one of the best ways to believe in something is to see someone else do it. Case in point would be the 4-minute mile, right? Everybody thought it was impossible. They thought no one on this planet, no human being could do it. But once the first person did it, the year after, a bunch of people started doing it because they saw it was possible. And the same goes for you. Whatever you're going through right now, on the other side of that, someone's going to look at you and say, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And that should be a huge, huge motivator for you to come out on the other side. Because when we take the focus off ourselves and think about all the other people out there who need to see you succeed, we become a little less selfish. We become a little bit more able to tolerate pain, uncomfortableness, stepping out of our comfort zone. We can handle those things when we know it's for a bigger cause than just ourselves. And so I challenge you this week to really take a look at what you're struggling with and see what lessons you can learn and see how those lessons can push you forward. And that way you can reach back and help someone else move forward as well. So that's just a little bit today on, moving on versus moving forward. I wanted to share that because it was a bit of a mind, blast these past few months of how we can choose how we go through life, and how we actually go through maybe the not so fun parts of life, but also how we can use discomfort to help us move forward. And I think we are also prone to just wanting to forget everything bad when really we could be using it for the greater good. So I hope that helps someone. That's all for today's episode of Breakthrough to Better, guys. We hope you found insights and inspiration from our discussion, and as you continue exploring life's lessons and turning them into stepping stones for personal growth. If you've enjoyed this episode, please spread the love and share it on your social media channels. Let's inspire others to also strive for their betterment. So be sure to tag us and use the hashtag Breakthrough to Better. Every share, every comment, every review helps us reach more people and make a wider impact. And until next time, guys, keep learning, keep growing, and remember, when you get better, the world gets better. So thanks for tuning in, and I will see you later.